You're not going to talk to me for a year? Really? Well, this pays nothing, so, I mean, it's a very low bar.
Warner Bros. Discovery through an upfront, knowing it might not exist as a separate company next year.
They're just personalities that make great content, right? Which is what TV has always been about. Hello and welcome to the Attention Shift podcast. I'm Ed Abyss.
I'm Joe Redfern.
Joe. So this week we're going to do a special pod and we're going to do all about the Upfronts because obviously YouTube and people like that have all done their Upfronts recently. So we're going to get into that one by one and see who comes out winning, losing, or if it's a score draw. But before that, Joe, you've got some news.
I'm going to be taking a bit of a break. I've got a super big project coming up. I'm not really going to have time for you, Ed, so keep my seat warm. Maybe I'll be back.
So basically, you've got things going on in your life that's more important than this podcast. Is that what you're saying?
That pay more.
Well, this pays nothing. So, I mean, it's a very low bar. Well, obviously, I'm going to miss you having on here.
Having you on here.
No, it is. I enjoy this weekly chat. This meander through the world of sports media and technology and marketing. But yeah, look, amazing for you, and I'm sure everyone will find out what you're up to in due course. But obviously, I'm going to be sad to see you go for the time
I've enjoyed it too. But anyway, let's not natter about me too much.
Let's crack on. You go first then. Hi everyone. Just before we get into the pod, I want to talk about some research we've just done. We surveyed 1,500 games across the UK, US, and Europe, and found that your fans want to spend more with you. You're just not giving them enough reasons to. To find out exactly how much revenue your organisation is leaving on the table and what to do about it, head to display.com/insights or scan the QR code on screen. Download the report and the guide. Both are free.
Yes, YouTube. Do you know what? I really like Upfronts Week because it's them having to be candid about where they're going to make their revenue. All of these media companies, studios, networks, where the next 12 months revenue is going to come from. So there's no hiding really. It's strategy front and center. So yes, of course. I mean, YouTube is the one that everybody looks at when they do their brandcast. I always enjoy watching it because it's normally Neil Mohan and some super high profile folks talking about how YouTube, and they've said it formally this time, they've repositioned themselves as TV. They're not social, they are TV, and they used brandcast this time.
At least it makes it easy now. We can just call it all TV and not have to get bogged down about different monikers.
Yes, that bloody argument. Let's formally lay it to rest now. But they're basically launching a creator slate of shows. So their creator-led programming, which to this point has not been perceived as premium, but it's been nudging that way. Yeah. They rolled out some big names with a slate of new shows, Alex Cooper, Trevor Noah. It's basically premium factual formats. And instead of spending your ad dollars on TV, they're basically saying, hey, we've got our first ever slate of premium creator shows. Come and spend it over here instead. So really, it's them crossing that Rubicon. They are now officially, formally TV. And advertisers, rather than looking at creator media as experimental or somehow lower value, now YouTube is saying, look, just stop buying TV. Stop buying creators as influencer campaigns. This is now premium programming. Interesting as well. And just the way they went about some of the stuff they did. So they did it at the Lincoln Center, right, which is deliberate theatre. So that's what I'm saying. You know, we're not just attending you Upfronts now. We're taking a proper seat at the table here. We are driving the agenda of what TV content looks like moving forward. And then I think buried in all of that as well, where they've been banging on about shoppable TV now for a decade plus, but they're now promising to ship this at scale, make it easy for people to purchase. And obviously, the clever thing about that is obviously Google Pay is a thing that's powering it all as well. So it's all nicely tied up with a bow and all as it needs to be for them. And there's only really Amazon that can do that in a similar way, right? You know, friction, content commerce has always been rife with friction, but Amazon has started removing that, and now YouTube can do it with Google Pay. And it basically, it does what traditional TV broadcast could never do, really, and that's prove direct outcomes from advertising spend. You could try and draw a line between it, but now they could basically go,
you put your ad dollars here, or you did a promotion here, and you sold through this many units or sign-ups or whatever. So it's removing that friction between proving your outcome and your revenues from investing with Google and with YouTube. So, I mean, God, it's hard to argue against the success of YouTube. They are on a clip at the moment, and I don't see them, you know, by this time next year when we're talking about upfronts, maybe I'll come back and talk to you about upfronts. I concede it will.
You're not going to talk to me for a year, really?
I can see we'll be talking about YouTube front and centre. Right? It's hard to argue with them. But anyway, who was next? Talk to me about Disney. What do you think to Disney's?
Disney. So I'm going to open this up as well. So the Savannah Bananas, your favourite, obviously, who are, you know, social video native, obviously done a lot of what they've done on YouTube and the TikToks, and they appeared at Disney's Upfronts. And I think booking tells you exactly where sports media is heading. But it's interesting about the Savannah Bananas, right? Because their model is all about non-exclusive. I'm going to let you come on to that in a second, because I know there's been a video been doing the rounds this last week. But 12th of May, the Javits Centre, Josh D'Amaro, the new CEO, opened up with this idea as a company of one. Because obviously Disney they've got ESPN, they've got Hulu, ABC, FX, and they're trying to make it look like they're not working in silos. They work as one. They got Billie Jean King there as well. That's really bringing a legend of sports into it as well. Obviously, the Bananas performed. Olivia Rodrigo closed it all out. So the word fandom was their commercial frame throughout. So interestingly, you've got YouTube going TV, 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 and then you've got Disney going fandom, social, video. Unpack that one.
But it's right, isn't it? It's interesting. It's this idea that Disney is one company, when really it's a lot of constituent parts. Yeah. But again, it goes back to what we've all seen is the Disney flywheel that does the rounds on LinkedIn every once in a while. You know, how they link together all the constituent parts of their business. So this idea that they're pitching themselves as Disney as a company of one, and basically what is it built around? It's built around fandom. So again, not TV. It's not movies. It's not the sparkle of Disney that was basically what it traded on for decades. Now they're basically saying, because it's hard to argue against YouTube for its gravitational pull with attention, they're now saying, actually, Disney are masters of fandom, which they are. But it gives them something else to hang their hat on. So it was less about content and more about this ownership of fandom and the emotional behaviour that Disney's so good at evoking, whether it's with a movie or whether it's now with Savannah Bananas.
So let me pick you up on that then. So Savannah Bananas, right? I always find it weird saying bananas rather than bananas. They came at this with, we're bringing this, well, these guys are going to be on ESPN now, but that's non-exclusive, right? They're not just going to be on ESPN. So they're not really in control of any of that, right? Because they're just another distribution point. And I think that, like I said, look, I'm sure everyone's seen this video doing the rounds, and Harry sent it to me on TikTok the other day as well. The CEO talking very eloquently, very passionately about.
Oh, he's so good, isn't he?
Why they exist, and you just think, I wish I could do that.
He is very good. Is Jesse Cole? He's kind of part guru, part cult leader, part motivational speaker, and kind of business, or almost kind of like a business leader. But what he's really done in building Savannah Bananas over the last 7.5 years is he's basically done what Disney had done for years, as in build something that puts the fan and fandom at the very heart of everything. And I know that's a trope, and I know we hear that ad infinitum, but they really built it in that way. They've been very open and honest and said, we will never take stuff off YouTube. That's where we built our audience and our fans. And so when ESPN came to acquire a package of games a couple of years ago, and they've increased that package in subsequent years since to, I think, 25 now, he very rightly said, we're not taking it off YouTube. We're not doing this exclusively, which was the old way of doing business with Disney. And they relented because they saw how important having that access was to the fans of Savannah Bananas. Now, Disney has got form on this. It's beginning to move on its exclusivity stipulations, because Bluey, which is another massive kids IP at this moment, is produced and distributed by BBC Studios. So Disney didn't originate it. Disney doesn't own it, but BBC Studios sold it to Disney Plus. But BBC Studios also said, we've got quite an aggressive YouTube strategy. So Bluey's going to live on YouTube as well as on Disney Plus. And Disney relented on that as well. And it's done them absolutely no harm whatsoever. In fact, Bluey is the most watched show on Disney. So Disney are beginning to realize that actually, in practice, what we've said very often, exclusivity no longer equals the true kind of value. It needs to be in other places too. So this is what Savannah Bananas have leveraged with ESPN. I don't suppose that it will harm viewing on ESPN at all. So Disney now is beginning to reorient their moat, which used to be platform exclusivity, to now it's this fandom. We own massive IP that can that have these huge fandoms, whether it's Bluey or whether it's Savannah Bananas. So that's an interesting pivot for Disney, and it's not all stuff that Disney has originated and owned as well, which is a bit of a shift for them.
Yeah, true.
If you're a creator who wants to build a career like the Sidemen or Emma Chamberlain, here's one to watch. You've built the audience, you've got the revenue. How do you take to the next level? Right now, everything you built depends on you showing up. To break out, you've got to look beyond the next upload. The creators building real businesses aren't just making better content. They're building assets that work without them. We've mapped out 4 phases which will turn you from a creator to a media empire. Read the guide, start building beyond the upload.
Fox, well, so this is one that feels a little bit different, but also is an interesting case study because Fox has really changed its direction in the last couple of years, because Fox, although it's doubling down on live sport and it's always been keen on sport and news, as we know, they've moved away from owning their own networks and they have pivoted towards Tubi. So they've positioned Tubi as their kind of creator native platform. And I did write a little bit about this after we'd been in Lisbon for Stream TV Europe, because you and I both watched Evan Shapiro talk about how, unlike Paramount, who are acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery, which is traditional media, and they're taking on a ton of debt to do so, Fox has done the opposite. They've shed a lot of their traditional media networks and they've doubled down on Tubi, which is their creator native platform. So a real divergence between the two there. So Fox Creative Studios, they have launched an IP development arm. They're partnering directly with creators. This is their future now, Tubi. It's not a side hustle. This is the direction that they're going in. So not subscription heavy. We know how that's kind of plateauing out, that subscription business. Fox is betting on fast more than anything. So free ad-supported television and this creator-native television, which back up at the top we were talking about with YouTube, is now positioning as premium programming. So yeah, interesting that Fox is... Fox, 5-10 years ago, you would have thought about it synonymous with Murdoch, a very old, conservative, traditional media business, completely done a 180.
They haven't gone as far as going for the Savannah Bananas yet, though. That might be a step too far, really does.
I would be very surprised if Disney didn't acquire a stake in Savannah Bananas soon, because it is the sport version of everything that Disney's about.
Yeah. It's the theme park version of sport in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. So look, Fox, like I said, it's interesting. We did cover off Tubi, didn't we, a few weeks ago as well, and what they do with the creative studios. But they've understood where attention has shifted to, and ultimately, I think we sat in a session as well where they were talking about Fast as well, and the fact that there was this whole talk about Fast has not quite caught on in Europe as it has in the US. It's kind of like, because we've got loads of free content in Europe, so people don't have to go searching for it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, you've got to pay for everything when it comes to content, so that makes total sense. And I've spoken to a few friends in various different sports orgs based out of Europe who've been doing very nicely out of distributing their content across fast channels in the US and been making some nice, good money out of it.
Yeah.
Without having to make any new content for it as well, because it's stuff that isn't easily distributed out there for them. So I can see why that's becoming a thing for them. And the fact, look, like you say, for an organisation that is as traditional as it is, to be pivoting as much as it is without having to get,
caught up in what's been going on with the whole Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount, Netflix thing and just pivot in the way that they have done towards the Tubi. I mean, I think I saw something as well about, they were talking about the Fox Fan OS, this operating signal that signals this audience as a platform play, whatever that means. We just keep seeing things every few weeks that Fox are doing that none of it feels like seismic at the time, but as they start layering it in, you can see how they're setting themselves up, and it's almost like doing it under the radar while all these big deals are sort of happening on around them, but are not really worrying about it and keeping true to the strategy they've set for themselves.
Yeah, they're zigging while others are zagging, for sure. While all of the M&A is happening on the big studio side, they've divested themselves of a lot of that baggage and are going in a completely different direction. Now, I mean, it may or may not work. The signs are that actually FAST is a very lucrative business in the States. As you said, it's not really taken off as much in Europe, but it's doing great in the States. There was a report released by Bango on subscription behaviours that was released while we were in Lisbon, worth a look. And I'll not try and quote the figures because I'll get them wrong, but the direction of travel was that a few years ago, you would subscribe and pay a little bit more not to see ads. Now you'd rather pay less and have ads because everybody's feeling the pinch, and there's so many subscriptions that you're expected to have. But actually, FAST is something. It's a trade-off that's increasingly looking attractive. Free, ad-supported, and actually the ad load on FAST platforms is actually lower than on some of the subscription platforms. Yeah. So it actually feels a little bit like what we would class as, kind of old-fashioned free-to-air linear TV. So I think Fox has actually been quite prescient doing what they're doing. So it'd be interesting to see how that nets out in the next 12 months or so.
Cool. So next up, NBC. So NBC's turned a day of the week into its most valuable sports advertising slot in America. So Sunday for them now means football, basketball and baseball all in one platform. So this matters because they've managed to get Sunday night football, they've got Sunday night basketball, and they've got Sunday night baseball. So, and we've heard this Monday night football for a bit, but they've now really gone all in on Sunday, all across Peacock. They've got the FIFA World Cup coming up, in 30 days' time, roughly speaking, when we're recording this. And, of course, NBCU and Telemundo, they own those rights too. So they've got a multitude of sporting rights all around that day. So the idea is you've got no reason to leave the NBC ecosystem on a Sunday.
It's
interesting, right?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because we're talking primarily sports here, but sports was the thing that was front and centre throughout of all of these upfronts. That wouldn't have been the case a few years ago, but now sports, we know that everybody's clamouring for sports rights. It seems to be the thing that all of these networks are thinking is going to be their saviour. But rather talk about a particular sport, I really thought it was interesting how NBC Universal were just like, no, it's about the biggest day of the week for sports viewing in the US. It's all about Sunday. And when they said it, I was like, I think that's kind of genius. Now, it's only one day of the week, but like you say, come for Sunday sports, stick around for the rest of it.
And what's interesting is, look, because obviously Sunday in the US is NFL Day, right? But the NFL only runs for a relatively short window in a sports season. And I must admit, I never thought I'd say this. I can't wait for it to come back. But I can see the commitment that NBC have to sports. Just obviously, I was over in Tampa a few weeks ago for the Premier League weekend live that NBC did along with the Premier League, and just to see the way they put on the whole experience in person, but also part of the time I was watching it back in my hotel as well because it was a very hot day. It was far too much to be staying outside all day. So I went back and watched the game as well. So it was interesting in seeing how that was being presented to their viewing audience at home. To have this combination of the sort of the physical and then the sort of a distance viewing experience, and they do such a good job of presenting it. They do. But not only like the experts that they've got, the presenting team that they've got, but they interconnect with the fans as often as they possibly can, so people understand that the fans are totally invested in what that experience is. It's that FOMO, right? You don't want to miss out on it. Because they make you feel part of it. And I think they are doing that now across all of the sports. Like, whenever I am in the US, generally speaking, the sports I want to watch, are on Peacock or NBC or Telemundo, right? I end up watching on one of those channels. So, and that focus towards Sunday, when that's when people have most of their disposable time, is looking like when most of the advertisers are putting most of their disposable advertising money into it now as well. So they've slowly but surely built this up to become, the place to be on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think they were smart to drill down onto habitual viewing, because when everything else is being thrown up in the air, actually Sunday sports viewing, particularly in the US, is still something that is ingrained in the psyche. So if you can take that, own it, and leverage that, then I just thought it was a really smart execution by them. I agree with you. Every time I have watched Peacock, I've always been impressed with how their UX, their fan experience, I just think that they've done it really, really well. So, kudos to them. The interesting challenge for them, because they have Premier League as well, don't they? Is this sports rights inflation, thinking about what the NFL's asking for, thinking about NBA, Premier League, when it comes up for renewal, I'm pretty sure that there'll be a hefty ask there. If those rights costs for Peacock rise faster than their subs revenue, then obviously you're in a very precarious position economically. And those economics are want to break. So that's the only caution I would say. But I really liked the idea that they just they just hung it all on Sundays, the Sunday habit of sport, and then everything else you stay for.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because obviously, like I said, if you can drive that amount of audience to Sunday, the reality is you're going to get bleeding to other days.
Oh, of course,
you just are. Because it becomes, like I said, it's that habitual viewing on a Sunday, and then that's when you are signposting what else is coming during the week until you get back there again next Sunday. They will bleed that into other days.
Yeah, 100%. So far we've got YouTube, who are owning TV. We are premium programming, creator-led. You've got Disney, who have pivoted away from we make movies and sparkle better than anyone else, to we are the fandom experts.
Yeah.
You got Fox completely zigging while everybody else is zagging and going creator first and doubling down on Tubi. And then you've got NBC Universal, who are owning Sundays. So what's left? What?
The biggest events of the year are goldmines for publishers, and Display's new research shows you exactly how to cash in. We analysed over 30,000 comments across the US election, the World Cup, the Met Gala and more, uncovering 8 ways audiences engage, so you can package, price and sell your content and own the conversation, whether you have broadcast rights or not. Head to display.com Insights to download Harness the Hype today.
So the final upfront was Warner Bros. Discovery. What on earth could they hang their hat on? Well, who knows?
Well, it's a difficult one, this as well, isn't it, for them? Because, obviously, Warner Bros. They've had to do an upfront, and, they have Shaq with the marching band. Yeah, exactly. Like HBO, hockey, romance. They're doing all of this while not knowing if they're going to still function. I mean, they're certainly not going to be an independent company this time next year by the looks of things. But what are they going to become? So that's a difficult one. So what actually happened then at the upfront? What were they presenting?
Well, I mean, sport, again, like every other one, was front and centre. So they were talking about NHL and Bleacher Report. Have you watched Heated Rivalry yet?
No.
So, I mean, I haven't either, I will say. It's on my list of things to watch. But Heated Rivalry, which was, I think it was commissioned by, was it Crave in Canada? Relatively small show, and it got picked up, and then it went completely stratospheric. About a love story between 2 hockey players on rival teams. It gets a bit saucy, it's the kind of thing that you might be embarrassed if you're a teenager and you sat next to your mum and dad while watching it.
I won't suggest it in front of my daughter then.
No. But it has been one of the biggest sports adjacent kind of scripted dramas in a good long while.
Cool.
So they obviously led with that because it blew up on social, and young people are all about Heated Rivalry. I've seen so much content around Heated Rivalry on social. So that and Bleacher Report and the sports that they got kind of were front and centre with their upfronts. It's interesting because, I mean, clearly there's a bit of uncertainty around whether the acquisition will go through. So they can't really go out too hard and target advertisers because there's that kind of instability with the inventory. If it's all put within, under a different corporate structure next year, then buyers are not going to be very confident.
I suppose the interesting thing is like, look, surely like brands like TNT are not going to go anywhere, right? Like, as much as there's instability at a management level at the top, but you'd imagine they're going out of their way to go, look, right, the long-standing brands that exist, the formats that we've created, they're going nowhere. They're only going to get better. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We're totally not going to cut any jobs. There's not going to be any cutbacks to save billions that we... Yeah, like... they must be going out of their way. I suppose it's their job to convince everyone that is going to be the case, and the things that have made these, Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery great over a long period of time are still going to exist and are only going to get better. I can't believe they weren't doing that, right?
Well, yeah, and the idea is that they will have such scale and they will have such a massive inventory. From sport to premium sport storytelling, all the Harry Potter stuff. I mean, everything will sit under one roof. So the idea is that you are an advertising buyer's dream. You could more or less spend all of your budget just against Warner Brothers. Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery inventory. So they've got a ton of it, but there is an inevitable instability while these things are going through. Systems aren't joined up. Then if it does pass, you've got to join up those systems. You've got to deduplicate departments. I'm sure there'll be tons of layoff. I mean, that just creates uncertainty in the short term, even if it nets out as an advantage in the long term. So watch him brief.
What is interesting is, like you said, that heated rivalry is there, because I didn't know what it was until you explained it to me then. The fact they've already got NHL rights as well, they're clearly looking for some kind of crossover there. And look, and I don't know the makeup of an NHL audience, but I'm assuming there's going to be some crossover there.
Oh, yeah, so heated rivalry brought in a lot of younger viewers, a lot of women.
Which is NHL's crying out for, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I'm not surprised that, given that they've got NHL rights and that heated rivalry had gone off, then they want to tie those two things together, because it really, it did what Drive to Survive did. Brought in a younger audience, brought in more women, and prompted a ton of noise on social media because some of the saucy themes covered in it, which, doesn't hurt. I'm looking forward to watching it, actually. It's supposed to be really good.
No, you sold it to me now. I mean, that might be, I was gonna watch it tonight, but as we record this, I'll be watching Burnley probably lose quite heavily to Arsenal. But if that's going really, really badly, maybe switch it off at half-time and watch Heated Rivalry.
So we've got a little list at the end, but we've more or less said it, haven't we? If you look at the upfronts, one of the big takeaways was that sports. Everybody is talking about sports, and we've seen it firsthand when we were together at Stream TV Europe. I mean, sports was never far from the conversation. So it's an interesting time for sports and sports media and rights across all of these networks and studios. But there's no getting away from creators as well, which you and I have been talking about for long enough. But creators being mentioned at upfronts as being key premium programming I reckon this is probably the pivot point for that now, in terms of creators being seen less as influencers and more as serious kind of media creators.
Yeah, they're just personalities that make great content, right? Which is what TV has always been about.
Yeah, and formats and ways to connect, and that's what TV's always been about. But I think creators, to a large extent, people have been sniffy about creators, or traditional media has been sniffy about creators. I don't think you can afford to be too sniffy anymore. Not when YouTube is putting them front and centre. So is Fox. So even Peacock and NBC Universal, they've got a pretty decent creator network across their sports broadcast ecosystem now. So creators ain't going anywhere. And this idea that Disney is owning Fandom as their kind of monetizable unit, I think, is interesting.
I mean, they can claim it, but I think They're not the first ones to think about it. YouTube would probably argue that they own Fandom. TikTok might argue that they own Fandom, right?
WWE, they're pretty good at Fandom too.
Well, yeah, and also, but the irony is, if you'd have tried to say Fandom to anyone, like you say, 18 months ago, they would have probably rolled their eyes and been sick in their mouths.
As a monetizable asset. They're stretching it.
Don't use that word. But now apparently it's cool and you can use it. So we'll stop using it now. Now it's apparently cool. Joe.
Eduardo.
What am I going to do?
Oh, I'm going to be fine.
We'll be fine.
I look forward to being a listener.
No, well, please do. That'll be one more. Thank you so much, Joe, for making me sound borderline coherent over the number of months since we started this. It's been great fun doing this with you, and look, I'm genuinely really happy for you. The what you've got coming up, but I'm definitely going to miss you.
Oh, I'll miss you too. Anyway,
even my wife when I told her, she went, "No, why?" I'm like, "You don't even watch it or listen to it." Like, there you go. See.
Well, if you've got any suggestions for future co-hosts for Ed, email hello@attentionshift.media.
Definitely open to suggestions. Yeah, we will have someone on with me next week, but you'll have to wait and see who that's going to be. I haven't decided yet. Cool. Thank you so much, Joe. So I've been Ed Abbis.
I've been Joe Redfern. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for watching today's episode of The Attention Shift. If you enjoyed this conversation, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this. And make sure you smash that bell icon too, so you're always the first to know exactly when a new episode drops.